Jesus continues these kingdom qualities for his citizens. And he says, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And so you might think, well, what does that mean? Because we don't use that word very often, and when we do, it has a negative connotation of weakness. You think about somebody who has a weak handshake, or somebody who's sick or lame or poor or blind, somebody who's a vulnerable person. But that's not what Jesus meant at all. In fact, he meant quite the opposite. And one of the best illustrations for this is the Latin word, which comes from two words, but it means used to the hand. And so it's amazing what kind of animals man has been able to tame. You know, big bears or big cats like lions and tigers, or even our dogs at home. Maybe not the small dogs, but the big ones. You know, we don't look at those animals and think, wow, they're really weak, because they're not. They're just used to the hand. You know, my family just come into the possession of a Siberian Husky, and I guess they are one of the closest relatives or distant relatives to wolves. And I was just looking at him, looking at his canine teeth and his big paws and thinking, wow, that animal could do some damage if he wanted to. My kids lay all over him and he's loving it and he's soaking it up. He wouldn't do that because he's used to the hand. And so the Greek word just means a refrained strength. It's about refraining our will and choosing to do the will of the Father just like Jesus did. That takes a very special kind of strength. And so we see it kind of defined all throughout this sermon that Jesus preaches. But he says you won't find it in the Pharisees. You know, the law says you shouldn't hate someone or you shouldn't murder. But the Pharisees said, okay, well, I can hate my brother as long as I don't cross into the line of murdering him. But Jesus says, no, hatred is just murder in your heart. And so the law said you shouldn't commit adultery. And they thought, okay, well, I can look at the menu as long as I don't order. I can lust after a woman. And Jesus says, no, can't even look at the menu. Lust is just adultery in your heart. Meekness is not about getting as close to our will as possible. It's about refraining ourselves. It's not about walking the broad and the easy path that the world walks. It's about choosing to walk the narrow and the more difficult path that Jesus laid out. You know, it's not about doing what we want, calling Jesus Lord, and then calling that religion. You know, it's about refraining our will. It's about coming into the captivity of God's will and allowing that to change what we do and who we are.